I have done a ton of videos on workflow and some tips on streamlining better your production if you're doing everything yourself. And this video is also diagnostic. I will of course show some features within Reaper, but trust me, the whole concept is the thing that matters the most. Today we will be talking about how to improve more or less the creation process of music production and where to start drawing the lines so you only concentrate in the things that matter the most at certain given times, where you only need your attention on a specific thing. Straight from Mexico City, my name is Juanchis, and today I have no example, but let's just jump into it. Let's start with one of the things that I see extremely discussed in the internet, and I don't think it's worth too much of our time. Templates. I also did a video on templates. I already have a video when the year started on how I built my template for 2024 for a specific genre. So that's the biggest issue. If you're working only on music for yourself, then this might work because you're trying to find your sound and you're tweaking that template according to what you find is most useful to the kind of music that you're trying to get to. Or also you're fine-tuning the instruments as you go by. If you're just switching instruments in every single song, you will probably end up with very different results, non-consistent, and it really depends on your goals. So I think templates do work when you have a very specific genre or style in mind, then it kind of works, but only for the composing stage of music production. For me, mixing templates usually make my workflow a lot slower, so I wouldn't recommend them as much. If you see one, try to understand why some things are here and there, but other than that, I would honestly just avoid them. Making the session from scratch lets me get to know the material that I'm working with, but I work for people 95% of the time. So it's not always material that I'm used to or that I even know what's coming when I hit play. This also takes me to a recent video that I called 4 strategies to start making music. And either you start with a simple melody, a concept, a beat, or jamming with your friends. All of those ways are super valid, but every single one can take a bit more advantage from one workflow or the other. One of them is please don't forget that you should be able in your own DAW to have some sort of track templates where you can start even saving genre dependent presets or chains for stuff, either instruments or processing, and that gets you faster to that sound. Again, here the only thing that matters for me is to be able to lay down any idea that I can come up with, then I can polish it. I don't care if it feels loopy at first, I don't care if I'm just copying and pasting stuff from one section to another and just going like this and then finding something that might be the chorus and then just pasting it like this and adding maybe some sort of pre-chorus section right here. And I honestly don't care if I'm just trying to feel a song structure with some sort of loopy cadence or loopy music at first, because I'm just trying to get a hook down. I'm just trying to lay something to help me get in the vibe or the mood that I'm looking for. Of course, having a couple of extra features, as I have shown, that everything will be linked in the description, like the global sampler, that remember that what this does is whenever you play back audio from Reaper, remember that what Global Sampler does is that whenever you have it open in Reaper, it's buffering and recording real time, so you can just drag stuff from it that you listened previously while you were hitting play for something, and then you can resample in real time. And you can just turn it off and on using your toolbar. I have a whole video on it, so go check it out. It will be in the description. Of course, that's also helpful to be open even if you're just laying down melodic ideas and you are not recording and someone near a mic sang something useful, you can just grab it and drag it into the session so you don't lose it. So again, within this looping idea, many styles benefit from it because unless we're doing some sort of song structure that has a lot of sections all the way from A to H, like, I don't know, flamenco or something. Other than that, most song structures might have something like a verse, a chorus, a pre-chorus, maybe a bridge, an intro, and an outro. If your sections are more or less similar, it really doesn't matter if the chord progression here is the same as here because you're only trying to get the overall idea. Then you can fine tune and arrange better, pick better voicings, fine tune the top line, and start fiddling around with all of the extra stuff that you want. But first, try to get most of the things down as fast as possible. This takes me to another thing that I see a lot of people still not getting used to, and I don't understand why they don't do it, is use the markers and the regions or whatever they are named in your own DAW, because this really increases the workflow progress within your session. Find whatever features you have at hand to save yourself time when you're coming back to the session. For example, I could save the harmonic progression here, like F to A to G to C, something like that. And I can use the take markers built in Reaper to always have my progression at sight. I know most musicians can do this from just listening to stuff, but save yourself time and save other people's time by just having it written down in the session, either on the take markers or using some sort of notes built into the project, whatever DAW you're using. You can save it up also on top if you like it better like that. Find a place inside your DAW. Always have some sort of notebook where you can look for certain information. For example, on Ableton Live, I always end up using some sort of extra MIDI track that's usually height locked. And from there, I have specific MIDI clips where one might be called verse and the other one might be called chorus. And I just use colors to differentiate one section to another horizontally. But do this, like it's so much faster. Also, if you're working with clients coming into your studio, the first thing you have to get down is to get yourself used to the track that you're trying to work with. So try to start laying down the parts with markers. So whenever the client asks to go back to the first chorus, you know exactly where it is and you don't lose time with that. There's nothing that kills the flow most in the studio than the engineer or the person being in the keyboard at the computer, not knowing what part of the song, what part of the music another person in the session is referring to. Another thing that I have talked about many times is, and I will also have a video in the description about the modes of recording, is that try to use one single track for recording. So for example, if I have a track like this that's called recording vocal, and I'm just trying to build a comp on top of it, what I want to is that instead of having 3 tracks that are called lead vocal that will generate files inside my computer that are all named lead vocal, what I want is to be able to find them even inside my computer, not only through the session itself. By this, I mean that try to record everything here and just use another track for comping, especially if you're building stacks for backing vocals. Like just have a couple of tracks ready and set, and you can just pan them out using your favorite Reaper action, like pan select the track symmetrically left to right, and just start dragging down the takes that you recorded that you like the most. Many DAWs let you lock the horizontal movement of the items, so take advantage of that so you never misplace anything in time. And just as you keep on recording takes, just start emptying down into the tracks that will be actually final, that will be edited. And whenever you go back into the session, it doesn't matter if you are hiding this track after everything was being recorded. If you hide it and mute it using some sort of track manager built into your DAW, it's easier to go back and find all of the original files in one single track instead of having to open 200, instead of having to open a lot of takes in different tracks where you're trying to figure out what's what. Everything that's called backing vocals could be in one single take. Everything that is drums could be grouped in a couple of tracks that let you handle those tracks or that bigger instrument together, so you can edit it faster, so you can handle the takes faster, and you never misplace anything. That's extremely important. I cannot emphasize that enough. And last but not least, I know this is something that a lot of people don't do, is try to pipe down your process. If this is some sort of master session where I'm building every single instrument and I have all of my markers right here, and suddenly I have to make a new recording where I have to erase a couple of tracks because something like the buffer size is not letting me work fast enough, and I cannot cannot go as down as I want to, what you can do is start making save as versions of it with proper names that are called something like my song. You open brackets and you say something like recording bass or recording guitars. And inside that session, there you can freeze all of the tracks that you want to stereo or mono, or just render inside that session everything that's not being actually useful for that session. Remember that working with the idea of stems lets you push things that you really need for a specific session, such as the rhythm section, either the drums or the bass, or more harmony, so you can really concentrate only on what's most important. Then you can go back into your main session and start emptying down all of those things. For that to actually work, you have to always keep the time within your session the same. That's why starting from your main piped down session is the way to go. That way you will always have things in the same bars in the same time, and you will never misplace anything. I have tried to get used to the idea of importing project as a media item, but I have never really gotten used to it. What this lets you do, at least in Reaper, is that you can have a bigger session live inside of another session. Every time you exit that sub project, it has to render, so that might make you waste time. And if that doesn't fit your workflow, like, just let it go, make a bounce, and go back into your new session. Not every single DAW will let you have different tabs of different projects open at the same time. Some are a bit more streamlined that way, but take advantage of it so you can go into one session, and let's suppose you have this track, that's the only one that's important from this session, that's called, I don't know, guitar recording, right? And I just want to copy this into my main pipeline process. I can just go back to this tab and I can just paste that tab, and it will match exactly the timing and it will be ready for that session. In Reaper, I think this is really fast. I'm pretty sure on other DAWs there are ways to do this. Those would be my most important suggestions for you to really keep in mind. I will be making more videos on breaking down these stages. This is just a small introduction so you can start thinking about these things over the week. And the next week, we will start breaking down the process of arrangement, not only thinking of it probably as chords just because, but be sure to subscribe so you can watch that video whenever I release it. If you like this kind of videos, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and go a lot deeper in all of the videos that I have linked in the description that I have made through the past months. Be sure to join us in the Discord Reaper server so you can ask anything in real time from me or anyone in the Reaper squad. Straight from Mexico City, my name is Juanchis, and thanks for listening.